Welcome to the deep dive. Our material today is it's extracted from Bret Easton Ellis's really unsettling novel Less Than Zero.
It's a pretty intense one.
It is. This is not just a book. It's more like a cultural document from the 1980s. It just throws us really headfirst into this claustrophobic, sun-drenched nightmare.
Mm.
We follow Clay, who's an 18-year-old college student, and he's coming home for Christmas break to his family's opulent circle in Los Angeles.
And it's a world where, there's not a lot of merriment. It's really defined by extreme affluence and this profound social and emotional dysfunction.
It is a raw, fragmented narrative. I mean, it shattered expectations when it came out.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
because it's all delivered through the eyes of a narrator who is actively trying to feel nothing at all.
So our mission today is, well, it's challenging.
It is. We need to synthesize these really jarring, often horrific anecdotes into a cohesive picture. We have to explore the corrosive themes of wealth, emotional decay, and the purely transactional nature of their relationships.
When money has just rendered everything else meaningless.
Exactly. You have these characters who are seeking knowledge, if you could even call it that, through just sheer shock and self-destruction. They're completely bypassing, traditional education or any kind of genuine introspection.
And the source material, I mean, Ellis wrote it when he was barely 21.
Incredible.
It immediately got all this critical attention for its documentary reality. Critics were calling it an updated Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah, but this time, the alienation is fueled by trust funds and cocaine, not, youthful idealism.
Right. So we're going to focus on how this privileged, relentlessly sunny environment really bred a profound, almost terminal sense of numbness in Clay.
To the point where even the most disturbing, violent, and exploitative events seem utterly mundane.
Or, terrifyingly, even desirable.
And that's the key tension, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The thing you have to hold on to throughout this deep dive. It's the dissonance between that perfect aspirational surface of 1980s LA and the absolute rot underneath. Clay is emotionally hollowed out before we even begin.
And the city, it just functions as both the cause and the mirror of his condition.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The initial shockwave of atmosphere and alienation that hits Clay the moment he lands back in Los Angeles.
It's immediate.
The disconnect is captured perfectly by this single, almost irrelevant statement that just overshadows everything else.
That statement, it's our first glimpse into the LA psyche, and it comes from Blair, his ex-girlfriend. She picks him up from LAX, and she says, completely deadpan, people are afraid to merge on freeways in Los Angeles.
And Clay just fixates on it.
He does.
That line is hypnotic for him because it's a simple external metaphor for the complex internal landscape he just can't navigate.
It's so much easier to hear that than to deal with the personal truths like, I'm pretty sure Muriel's an anorexic.
Yes. He lets that statement literally overshadow the physical evidence of his time away. The rough plane ride, the mud on his jeans from New Hampshire, the stain on his shirt.
Even the tear on his gray Argyle vest.
Right. None of it matters.
And that fixation is so crucial. The freeway quote isn't just some quirky LA observation. It speaks to the central theme of the whole novel.
What did you...
The fear of commitment, the fear of connection, the fear of, merging. Merging your identity or your emotions with another person. Clay arrives with the dirt of the East Coast on him, but he immediately dismisses it because his goal is to remain unmerged, detached.
That Argyle vest, he notes, it suddenly looks vaguely more Eastern. It emphasizes that whole geographical and cultural divide.
He's a foreign body entering this hyper-real ecosystem.
And the LA environment itself is actively working against any sense of comfort.
Oh, yeah. He describes these heavy gusts of warm, unsettling wind, the Santa Anas, which are rocking the car.
The palm trees are shaking wildly, they're bending, suggesting this chaotic, uncontrollable natural force that's just at odds with the manicured landscape.
And then he gets home, and the air conditioner is on full blast. And the house smells like, artificial pine.
Artificial pine, trying to enforce this fake, controlled Christmas atmosphere despite the dry heat outside.
The whole environment is synthetic, but it's also relentless. And Clay's internal state, his detachment, it's immediately put on display and judged.
When Blair picks him up, she grins and asks, "What's wrong?" And then she says, "You look pale."
And this gets repeated, right? Trent says it, Alana says it. He's constantly being told he looks pale.
So what's fascinating here is that pale isn't just a color. It's a critique of his internal emptiness.
Exactly. Against the sun-baked, hyper-tanned, aggressively healthy LA norm, Clay's hollowness is made visible. He's supposed to be glowing, bronzed, like the climate he's returned to.
His paleness suggests decay, absence. It's a physical manifestation of his refusal to engage.
And that aesthetic of perfection, it feeds right into the superficial social circle he's forced back into. Their lives are defined by conspicuous consumption.
Status signaling. Their whole calendar revolves around parties in Beverly Hills. Blair's house, for example, has 2 Christmas trees.
With twinkling dark red lights, it sounds more sinister than festive.
It does, and they're defined by what they buy. They shop at these elite places like Neiman Marcus, Jerry Magnin, MGA, Camp Beverly Hills.
It's not just consumerism, it's like identity armor. You wear the right brands, you get the right acceptable persona. The objects are replacing any internal substance.
Even their academic identities, or, lack thereof, are rooted in status and just mocked with this intense cynicism.
Right, Trent calls UCLA UCRA, and Blair calls USC the University of Spoiled Children.
And in one really dark moment, USC.
Ugh. That casual derogatory humor, it suggests nothing is sacred, not even the markers of their own privilege. They're tearing down status, even while being completely defined by it.
That casual cruelty, it feels like they're desperate for a reaction, any reaction, even shock or offense, because they can't generate genuine feeling themselves.
And this extends directly to the adults in their lives who are, well, equally unsettling, if not more so.
Because they've already fully surrendered to it all.
Yes. The party at Blair's house is a perfect portrait of this adult breakdown. You have her father, the movie producer, the archetype of LA status.
And then you meet his young boyfriend, Jared.
Who is described with this chilling, clinical precision. Blonde and tan, and has blue eyes and incredibly straight white teeth.
He's the aspirational male look, flawlessly applied to a kept boy, a purely decorative figure.
And the mother is the counterpoint. She's by the bar drinking vodka gimlets, and her hands are shaking so badly she can barely hold the glass.
And she's agoraphobic.
Right. So the parents have successfully checked out. One into extreme appearance maintenance, the other into vodka and self-confinement.
Leaving the teenagers completely adrift in a moral vacuum.
And Clay's sense of inertia, his inability to fight against it, is what stands out. He's looking at this poster above his bed, an old Elvis Costello record cover.
With the word trust hovering over his head.
It's this perfectly mocking image of irony, reflecting his non-relationship with LA and his inability to trust anyone, and he's just too tired, too inert to even get up and move.
That combination of physical weariness and emotional inertia defines how they spend their days. Time is just something to be managed until the next sensation arrives.
They skip school, they wait for drugs, they look for anything to fill the void. The invitation to Blair's party says, fuck Christmas on the outside, and let's fuck Christmas together on the inside.
Everything, even a religious holiday, is just consumed and debased.
They aren't rebelling against tradition. They're treating tradition as another commodity to be used up and discarded.
So if the adults have checked out and connection is terrifying, that leaves this huge moral and emotional void.
Which brings us directly to how they cope with that emptiness.
Substance abuse. But not in the way you might traditionally expect.
Right, you mentioned that. The substance abuse in Less Than Zero, it's not depicted as hedonistic fun or some dramatic escape. It's much more depressing. A boring, monotonous ritual.
Used just to sustain the emotional numbness they crave.
Or just to function through the day.
It's daily maintenance. Like brushing your teeth, the cocaine is absolutely omnipresent.
Consumed casually in high-end cars. Cut into lines on a hand mirror. A mirror that reflects your own expensive tanned face back at you while you snort.
Or in a glove compartment, right out in the open, like when Trent pulls the Cliff Notes to eyes seeking lying out of his compartment.
That detail about the Cliff Notes, it's a perfect summation of the failure of their expensive education. Formal learning is ignored, reduced to a physical prop.
An artifact of academia repurposed into a surface for drug consumption.
And Clay himself admits it. He needs Valium just to fall asleep, and he's cutting lines of coke before driving to meet his own father for lunch.
The drug use precedes and facilitates the required social engagement.
And the ease of acquisition just reinforces how normal it all is. Dealers like Rip, who's wearing this thick, expensive white outfit.
From the brand Parachute?
Right. They don't look like criminals. Rip has a totally cool penthouse on Wilshire, financed entirely by a trust fund. He fits right in.
So the drug trade isn't an underworld thing. It's an extension of the trust fund economy.
Exactly. Rip's supply is endless because his money is endless, which is why he can just give Clay a gram of coke as a Christmas present. The transaction is so casual it mimics gift-giving.
And the language they use completely masks how serious it is. Rip reminds Clay, The trust is keeping things steady for now. I might go back when I run out. Only problem is I don't think it's ever going to run out.
If the money is infinite, the drugs are infinite. The need for self-control just never arises.
But the real social cost of this unending access starts to show, most visibly through Muriel's terrifying decline.
Early on, she's noted as anorexic, another sign of self-destruction. Later, she's in Cedars-Sinai Hospital, supposedly recovering.
But she's still obsessively reading fashion magazines and having a violent nicotine fit.
And then by Kim's New Year's party, we see the complete and shocking descent.
She locks herself in a room with all the paraphernalia, a spoon, a syringe, a folded piece of paper with brownish powder.
And Clay watches her shoot up heroin, noting the track marks on her arm.
This scene is one of the most jarring images in the whole book, partly because of one specific detail that links her decline back to Clay.
The Argyle vest.
She's wearing his borrowed gray and white Argyle vest, and Clay notes that the dark red pattern on it looks like he got stabbed or something.
Her act of self-destruction is visibly, physically staining his world, connecting her demise to his own detachment.
And later that night, she's crying and drooling, lipstick smeared, watching MTV and sunglasses inside.
And Kim's reaction. It's unsettling. Her lips are trembling, not just with sympathy, but with a mixture of excitement and fear. Muriel's extreme behavior has become a spectator sport.
That need for external thrill is a symptom of their collective paralysis. Julian's decline is just as tragic.
Maybe slower. Alana hears rumors he's completely fucked up, and Rip confirms it when he says Julian sells smack to junior high kids.
A line so low that even Rip, a major dealer, finds it real low.
And when Clay finally sees Julian, he's exhausted, weak, his eyes are blank, he's nervously biting his nails.
And singing that Tom Petty song, "Straight into darkness, we went straight into darkness."
It's an unintentional epitaph for his own fate, a soundtrack to his surrender.
The physical environment always frames this decay. The normalization of addiction is underlined by where they use drugs. Clay and Lindsay do coke in a stall at a club called The Edge.
Where someone has written gloom rules on the mirror.
That graffiti, gloom rules, it's the governing philosophy of their whole party scene.
And the drug use just overrides everything, even physical safety. Trent asks Clay to come do coke at Hamburger Hamlet, even though Clay's nose is bleeding and needs medication.
The drug use is essential just to survive the social demands. The physical damage is just a tax they pay.
The desperation isn't just for the drugs themselves, but for the act of acquisition, the slight disruption of the routine that the search provides. But what created this profound sense of needing constant disruption?
That's the question. And the source of their moral and emotional paralysis, the reason they need drugs to function, it lies squarely with the generation that preceded them.
This is where we trace the root cause. The profound parental neglect in this novel creates the emotional vacuum that the teenagers fill with substances and shock.
For Clay, the family unit is purely transactional, held together only by maintaining appearances.
His parents are separated, but even their separation is high-gloss LA drama. His father is pathologically obsessed with maintaining the illusion of youth and status.
A facelift, a hair transplant, caps on his teeth. He's a walking, talking artifact of appearance over substance.
And his attempts at communication are just agonizingly empty. In his Mercedes 450 SL, he plays a Bob Seger tape.
Clay calls it a weird gesture of communication. It's an attempt to bridge the gap with cultural signifiers, but it's doomed to fail because there's no real connection underneath.
And the lunch that follows confirms this. Businessmen constantly stop by the table, and Clay is introduced only as "my son."
And Clay notes that these businessmen all begin to look the same to him. They're interchangeable status symbols, including Clay himself.
The conversation is just empty. The father asks if Clay wants his Variety subscription renewed and asks about his mother's health without even listening to the answer.
The high point of family interaction is the enforced gathering for Christmas Eve at Chasen's. The atmosphere is intensely nervous and irritating.
His parents, separated for about a year, say only 4 words to each other the entire evening.
And Clay's response to this is so telling. He becomes so overwhelmed by the tension that he completely dissociates. He becomes totally fixated on the fork cutting a path between the peas.
Using that completely mundane action to ground himself against the chaos. He's desperately searching for a single point of order in a world of disorder.
And this abdication extends beyond the home. When Clay tries to find guidance, the adult world offers nothing but a reflection of his own emptiness.
His psychiatrist is a perfect, grotesque caricature of LA materialism. He's more concerned with pitching his new screenplay, talking about his mistress and the repairs on his Tahoe house.
It raises the question, is Clay really seeking help or just validation for his own numbness?
Because when Clay tries to articulate his anguish, the doctor dismisses him by saying, "Don't be so mundane."
Which is, weirdly, maybe the only true philosophical guidance he gets. The adult world has declared that feeling pain is boring and irrelevant.
The only imperative is, be interesting,
Oh.
which often means being shocking.
Meanwhile, his mother is just as useless, focusing on shopping, reading glamour, and having the softcore pornography channel installed on the cable.
This total lack of grounding drives Clay to desperately search for external reference points, for something real to hold on to. He's constantly confronted by the billboard that says, "Disappear here."
A terrifying and unsettling command. Clay admits it freaks him out a little. It's both a temptation, the relief of erasure, and an inevitable destination.
Since he can't find genuine emotion in his own life, he turns to tragedy. He collects newspaper clippings of random extreme violence.
A 12-year-old shooting his brother, a man nailing his kid to a wall. It's his bizarre syllabus for emotional education.
He collects them because, as he says, there were a lot to be collected. The sheer volume of mundane tragedy is the only recognizable form of genuine human feeling left.
He makes this one desperate, final attempt to reconnect with a past that wasn't hollow. He drives to Palm Springs to visit the old abandoned family house.
And it's a ruin. The pool is drained. That drained pool is such a powerful metaphor, an absence of life, memory, reflection.
And what does he do? He forces himself to sit on the steps of that empty pool and cry, actively trying to remember the way things were.
It's a moment of agency, a desperate attempt not to surrender to the numbness. But the memories are faded. The past is as empty as the present.
That confusion spills over into his observations of others. He sees a woman in Encino who cut her hair after a fight with her husband and notices he can catch patches of white beneath the spiked hair.
It's just a quick, violent renewal, a breaking point. These fragments of sudden, violent human emotion are all that register against his own numbness.
The only philosophy the adult world offers is passive surrender. There's a preacher on TV screaming, "Let God use you! God wants to use you! Lie back and let him use you."
Clay has nothing to guide him but the idea of letting himself be used.
And that passive surrender he's been practicing, it culminates in this truly devastating section. This is where the novel stops being about bored rich kids and exposes the horrifying rot underneath.
His search to see the worst is gruesomely fulfilled. And Julian's descent goes far beyond simple drug addiction.
Julian is revealed to be caught in this cycle of exploitation, forced to work for a man named Finn,
who is explicitly a pimp. And they visit Finn's apartment on Wilshire, a penthouse not far from Rip's, suggesting they're in the same financial class.
And the apartment is designed to confuse and isolate. It's a totally spare, totally white room with mirrors on the ceiling.
It gives Clay a feeling of vertigo. It's clinical, empty, disorienting.
And what's more terrifying is the geography. Clay realizes he can see his father's Century City penthouse from Finn's office window,
creating a direct, terrifying link between the worlds of film industry affluence and overt human trafficking.
Finn acts like a high-end manager, treating Julian like a failing commodity. He tells him, "Keep up the Nautilus, keep up the bod."
Julian is a product. His fitness must be maintained for maximum profitability. Finn reveals Julian owes him money and has been doing favors to pay it off.
And the moment Finn suggests Clay should join an appointment to help Julian pay the debt,
Julian desperately tries to protect him. "No, Finn, don't drag anybody else into this."
but it fails. Julian is too weak, which leads to the horrifying encounter at the St. Marquis Hotel on Sunset.
Julian and Clay meet Mr. Erickson, a businessman from Muncie, Indiana. And Clay is just internally paralyzed.
He sits in that hotel room for 5 long, agonizing hours.
And Erickson, sensing his paralysis, deliberately removes the last possible shield. He turns off the stereo and says, "No, no music. I want you to hear it all, everything."
That command is just horrific. He wants Clay to be a full witness, eliminating any means of escape. When Clay tries to throw up, he can't.
And that's the moment of his profound realization, delivered with chilling clarity. The need to see the worst washes over me, quickly, eagerly.
His passive detachment has metastasized into this perverse, consuming desire.
And his wish is immediately granted that same night. Rip and Spin discover a dead body in an alley behind a club called Flip.
A young, pale, bloated man, mouth open, dried blood above his lip.
And the scene is presented not as a tragedy, but as a curiosity. Rip pokes the boy in the stomach with his foot and asks, "Sure, he's dead."
And Trent's only reaction is to light a joint and say, "Wild?" They just stand there for 5 minutes watching moths circle a light bulb above the corpse.
This is the raw reality their privileged world normally filters out,
Yeah.
yet they treat it like a bad piece of performance art. Clay's hand is shaking, but that's it.
The moral collapse is cemented in the next scene. Rip invites Clay and Trent over to his penthouse to see something that will blow your mind.
What unfolds is the absolute nadir of their shared experience. In the bedroom is Chandra, a girl who Rip corrects is 12.
She is nude, tied spread-eagled to the bedposts, arms above her head, legs spread.
With makeup clumsily applied. Spin, Rip's roommate, injects her with a syringe and then sexually abuses her while Rip and Trent watch.
This scene is the ultimate test of Clay's numbness and the ultimate application of the ethos of LA affluence. When Clay finally asks Rip why this is happening.
Rip offers the core nihilism of the entire novel. Why not? What the hell?
Clay tries to use Rip's own wealth against him, saying Rip has everything, and Rip's reply is the philosophical centerpiece of the book.
No, I don't. I don't have anything to lose.
It's devastating. Absolute financial freedom equates to absolute moral license. If you have everything, you have no stakes, no concept of value, and therefore nothing is off limits.
You've already won the game. Now the only thing left is to destroy the pieces.
And Clay's final, chilling realization is that he is no different. His passive detachment has made him a willing witness. Trent stays in the room. Clay leaves.
Morally damaged beyond repair. The only thing that seems to affect him now is horror.
Julian's narrative ends with a definitive tragedy at Eddie's party. He's publicly degraded by Finn, called arrogant, selfish, ungrateful.
Finn leads him up a long staircase to a room. The music stops, silencing the entire party.
Clay hears low moans, followed by a sudden sharp scream.
Julian disappears. The door slams shut, and Clay simply turns away and leaves. His friend is gone, consumed by the worst the city had to offer. That scream is the final punctuation mark on Clay's LA education.
So Clay's departure from LA, it's not a glorious escape.
No, not at all. It is simply the end of a required, horrifying observation period. His final hours are characterized by these detached assessments.
The void he came to fill is still profoundly empty.
And his pre-departure lunch with Blair provides the novel's most critical, non-judgmental assessment of his character. When he finally tells her he never loved her.
She doesn't react with shock or tears. It's more like a clinical diagnosis.
Exactly. She says, "You were never there. I felt sorry for you for a little while. You're a beautiful boy, Clay, but that's about it."
She articulates it perfectly. Clay is an aesthetic object, a functional body, but his self is non-existent. He never emerged.
And then moments later, they encounter the only truly raw, inescapable feeling of his entire trip.
Blair runs over a coyote.
The car hits it hard, it gets stuck squealing. Blair cries hysterically, a genuine, uncontrollable outpouring of emotion.
But Clay, ignoring her, gets out of the car, and he watches the animal die for 10 full minutes.
He observes it shuddering, its eyes going white, blood running out of its mouth.
Why does he watch it for 10 minutes?
I think this raw animal death is a spiritual shock for Clay. It's an unavoidable encounter with real, unmediated mortality. This image is so visceral, so undeniable, that it's the one moment he can't filter through that LA numbness.
It's proof that consequences are real, even if they only apply to a wild animal that dared to cross the manicured streets of Beverly Hills.
And that confrontation with death is followed by a final significant conversation with Rip that just contextualizes the city's nihilism one last time.
Rip takes him on a drive, slowing down at one of Mulholland's most treacherous curbs. He points out the 20 or 30 wrecked, rusted cars at the bottom of the hill.
People who sailed off into nothingness because they misunderstood the road.
The road becomes a metaphor for LA itself. Beautiful, treacherous, and full of hidden casualties.
And then Rip takes a deliberately pointless turn down a dead-end street. When Clay asks what matters, Rip replies with his chilling finality, "Just that we're on it, dude."
The only shared truth is the shared aimlessness. The journey has no destination, only shared existence in the void.
And when Clay gets back to his complex, there's a final, unnerving message from his environment. A big yellow sign at his elementary school.
Warning. Keep out. Guard dogs on duty. His past is now explicitly hostile and inaccessible.
The LA disease, the malignancy, it lingers in his mind. He listens repeatedly to this song by a local composer.
And he believes the song's violent, haunting images of parents who were so hungry they ate their own children were his only point of reference.
He used these violent cultural images as the emotional map for his life, since his actual family offered none.
And the final horrifying image of the novel confirms this generational toxicity. Clay visits a coffee shop restroom, and below the joke, Julian gives a great head. And is dead! Someone has scrawled this furious, screaming message directed at the parents.
Fuck you, Mom and Dad. You both are so fucking hopeless. Burn, you fucking dumb shits. Burn, fuckers. Burn!
That graffiti is the novel's final, desperate, raw scream against the indifference of the generation that created this vacuum.
So Clay leaves L.A., having found nothing and realizing that he likes nothing, but his final cold defense mechanism is also revealed.
He determined that he didn't want to care.
Because if he did, it'll just be worse. It'll just be another thing to worry about. It's less painful if I don't care.
What we have witnessed is far more than the boredom of the wealthy. It's a corrosive environment where detachment is weaponized as the only sensible defense against pain.
Clay returns to New Hampshire, not because he has found stability or answers, but because he has simply finished his descent into the darkness and confirmed that horror is indeed the new mundane.
Clay's 4 weeks home confirmed that affluence does not equate to contentment. It only provides better access to numbness and more shocking ways to spend time.
The ultimate tragedy is the quiet acceptance of profound loss. The loss of Julian, the loss of self, the loss of the capacity to feel anything genuine.
So the narrative ends not with a resolution or a redemption arc, but with an echo of hopelessness. Clay is still staring at that Elvis Costello poster. The poster of California he'd pinned up is now torn down the middle.
A physical symbol of his shattered reality.
So we leave you with this provocative thought, rooted in Clay's final observation and Rip's nihilism. If having everything means you have philosophically nothing to lose, what is the true moral cost of that absolute freedom? And how far can one sink into the void before they truly, finally disappear?